Would you like to be somebody who understands how face masks might influence people's emotional intelligence? Then listen to this entire video where I explain how we rely on facial expressions to detect what somebody is feeling. And with face masks, we can't tell what somebody is feeling by the way their countenance is structured. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Let's get into it. So, as you know, face masks have become a preventative measure against the further spreading of COVID-19. I just got back from Spain, where you are legally obliged to wear a face mask as soon as you leave your home. Now, of course, the measures are different between countries, but the use of face masks has definitely increased on average. Now, emotional intelligence is this is the definition I got from Google. It is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. But it also entails the ability to detect emotions with others. That's the empathizing with others. It's understanding how somebody else is feeling. Now, something very interesting but quite concerning came to my mind last night. So, recently, whilst interacting with people, whilst wearing face masks, I realized how it is a lot more difficult to analyze a person's expressions, emotions, how they're feeling when they're wearing a mask. I did not realize how much I relied on observing a person's countenance when communicating with them. Maybe you've also noticed this yourself, how it's quite strange to talk to somebody with a face mask on. Now, we all have all we have left now is to read the facial expressions of the upper part of somebody's face, like their eyes and their forehead. But I haven't really felt like the forehead can tell me that much about how someone's feeling. You can tell something about somebody's eyes, they tend to glow if somebody is smiling, or they slightly squint, when they're smiling, they sort of squint a bit. Anyway, but the key takeaway is that we heavily rely on body language and facial expressions in detecting somebody's emotions. And I'm not sure whether this is instinctually, whether we can detect somebody's emotions from their face instinctually, or whether it is learned during our childhood. But what came to my mind is whether children who are now born during this, let's say, COVID outbreak and for the next coming years, whether they will have difficulties reading people's emotions because they won't learn what facial expression means what, because people are wearing face masks, and that is quite concerning. And I think COVID-19 will unfortunately be present for a lot longer than we expect, because in order for it to move through the population, that'll take a very long time, and if people can be reinfected, that's another concern. And I don't know when a what do you call an injection? I forgot what you call it. When that will come to fruition or be created. So I think it will stay for a lot longer. So kids who are born now, it's not like it'll only be a few months when people are wearing face masks, but it will actually maybe be a few years. So the question arises, will the emotional intelligence of children go down? Now, there are obviously two potential answers, maybe yes, maybe no. So maybe it doesn't go down, the emotional intelligence, because children might learn to rely on other channels by which somebody communicates their intentions and emotions, like other body language. Maybe the kids become more sensitive to analyzing somebody's posture or their tone of voice. Like when you suppress one sense-making mechanism in a human, people can tend to intensify the other senses. Like blind people can't use the sense of sight, but they have more sensitive hearing and can pick up objects and people in their surrounding more quickly and sensitively than the average person can. But maybe children don't develop the quality of their other senses. Maybe they become emotionally restricted because they also learn themselves well, they don't learn how to use facial expressions themselves to communicate how they're feeling because they don't need it or that it's of no use to them. Hence, they might be quite stoic when they express their feelings. And I know there is research on what humans focus on when somebody communicates with them. And, people focus on body language more than the actual content of the message. So people might be quite confused if the new generation is restricted in their body language, if they're like trying to communicate something they're very enthusiastic about, but their body language is very still and sort of relaxed and calm. And another quite worrying thing is, a part of the utility of analyzing people's body language and their face is to detect danger. Like you can see if somebody is angry or, yes, somebody is angry. And I know I heard Sam Harris talk about this on a podcast, how actually our intuition in detecting if somebody has bad intentions is quite reliable. Like if somebody comes to you and does like a suspect check, they look around to see if somebody is looking at what they are about to do, it's probably something bad. Hence, they don't want someone to see it. Stuff like that, like we detect very easily this body language in somebody if they pose a threat to us, and if someone's angry, they might like their jaw might be pulsating, and you can't see that then, or you can't detect that, and that is also quite dangerous. But so in conclusion, face masks might be harming the ability of the new generations, the new generation's ability to distinguish what somebody is feeling by their mouth and the countenance of their face, when they're trying to communicate that, or they're expressing themselves. And that, on the one hand, children might develop different ways of detecting somebody's feelings and emotions by their body language or other channels of communicating how they feel, and they might become more sensitive to detecting these other channels, or they might not. Their sense making of somebody's emotions might be inhibited, and they actually become emotionally sort of confused a bit, and less able to detect dangers in people also. Or just as much it goes for the opposite. If somebody wants to engage in you, is interested in you, they smile, they show that they are interested. Maybe that children become less able to detect that, which is also quite harmful then. Yeah. So please leave a comment below whether you think that children might be inhibited in their emotional intelligence, or they are actually made more their emotional intelligence is more receptive and more sensitive. But obviously, I'm not a psychologist, and I do not know really the literature on emotions and children. And my argumentation only goes if children learn facial expressions and what emotion means what, if that is learned through childhood. But if it is instinctual and humans can detect it instinctually without needing to learn it in childhood, then of course my argumentation is obsolete. It's not necessary. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Thank you for listening.